And welcome to another episode of DIOTALK. I'm Dio. Let's talk. My guest of the evening hasn't been here in a very long time. She first started with us when we first launched the podcast. She's an entrepreneur. Ladies and gentlemen, give her welcome to Alayna Zenger. Welcome to the show. How are you?
What's up, guys? I'm doing so good. I'm so excited to be back. I love the first time that we did it. You said it was episode 13, right?
Yes, yes.
So crazy. But I'm really happy to be back. It would be cool to maybe I'll go back and listen to my previous episode and see the difference because I've done a lot since the last time we talked.
Yes, yes. I know you're launching your new project, which is you're helping you're helping individuals start a podcast, I think in 15 days. Not
14.
mistaken.
So yeah, really
14.
close. 14. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Boom. So talk to me about this. First of all, what inspired you to do that?
Yes. Okay. So this is a business that my boyfriend and I are actually starting together, which that's also super special. It's really fun when you can be on the same page enough with your partner that you could actually go and do a business together. And so we decided to start this. I've had a couple of podcasts throughout the years. I started my first podcast back in 2021, and it was called Rebels with a Cause. Did that for a little bit. That was just a solo podcast that I did. And then I relaunched that podcast beginning of 2023 to be called The Business Shift. And that's one that I did get a lot of guests on. I think I got like 80 guests on in the span of 2 months, which was
Wow.
crazy. It was crazy. Like a lot of people on, but I was like, wow, like I really know how to get guests on. Like I really know how to talk to guests and I really know how to bring them on. And so that was a skill that I was building. And then just recently, my boyfriend and I launched a hobby podcast together talking about board games and relationships. And so we've got the fun
Nice.
side of that podcast as well. And so just kind of looking at our experience there, we were like, well, we really like the process of launching podcasts. We like the process of a podcast itself. You probably know this, but I feel like podcasts bring in a different group of people than
Hmm.
social media channel would. Like, let's say your Instagram profile, your TikTok profile, right? There, it's a different type of person that can listen to you for 45 minutes compared to somebody who can listen to you for 2 seconds. They're a little bit more real, I feel like, and I think a podcast you can be pretty vulnerable on as well. And so we really just like that idea of being able to help people bring their stories to life. But the thing we were seeing is that there were a lot of people saying, hey, like, I want to start a podcast. I really want to do a podcast, but something's holding me back, right? Like the tech, I don't know the tech. I've never done this before, or this thing, I don't know what to talk about. I don't feel like I have enough to talk about. And so there would be a lot of excuses. And then if they ended up getting started, they wouldn't be consistent. They would probably do 3, maybe 10 episodes. We saw some stats the other day that only like 10% of podcasts get past the first 20 episodes. And you're like, that's crazy. Like there's
Yeah.
so many people that start a podcast, but then don't actually get past it. And so we're like, it would be really cool to be able to help people not only launch a podcast quickly, specifically people who've always wanted to start a podcast, but haven't yet, right? They've just been in this place of like, ignoring it, pushing it off, going, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. So we wanted to help them launch it quick. So that's why we picked the 14 days. And then we also help them stay consistent with it with the post-production process. So we help them make sure that it gets out on time. We help them repurpose it so then they can grow it. And really all they have to do is film the episode, which is what they wanted to do in the first place. So that's kind of the reasoning behind it. We just really want to help people share their stories because a lot of vulnerable stuff comes out on podcasts.
No, I agree 100%. I've been doing this for quite some time, so I can 100% agree on your statement. It's I what I liked about it is like how do I say talking to people, meeting to people, like
Right.
building connection, networking, saying things and we're like you can't really say on radio because of the FCC or on TV,
Right.
having you have the capability of building your own platform,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Yeah. And being able to connect with an audience in just I feel like a deeper way because you can talk to them longer than two
Hmm.
to 30 seconds.
Yeah, you can how do I say this, right? So you can speak on things that your mind and body have been digesting. It's like almost a audio vlog or a diary.
Mm.
You know, I think the thing with me that's been really difficult on growing and building audience is because usually when you talk about podcasts, you're automatically like, what's your niche?
Yeah, yeah,
You know? And for me, like I want to be so like out of the box. I never wanted to put myself in a niche and talk about one thing, you know? So that's where like I try to like make it into a talk show with
yeah,
entrepreneurs, business owner, people who are passionate doing what they do to hear their story. And
yeah.
95% of the time it's they're not talking about their business, just talk about their experience, their life. Because you put the business aside, we're still human beings. We're still trying to
True.
figure it out who we are and build ourselves out to be a better person, better people, our family. So it's a great journey.
Yeah, I love that. And I like what you said specifically about it kind of being like an audio
Hmm.
vlog slash log of your life, like a audio diary of sorts. I've kind of that's my views have kind of shifted on content to instead of just trying to make what I think will get a lot of views, which in my
Hmm.
mind that's like humor videos that include humor, which
Yeah.
I would not consider myself a very humorous person. Like I don't like to make content like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, I don't really want to do that, but you kind of feel pressure to do that. But I've now kind of shifted my perspective on content that it's more of just like a way to solidify my beliefs, solidify my ideas on things.
Hmm.
Because when you talk out loud and have to explain your ideas to other people, you hear it back to
Hmm.
yourself and you're like, oh, actually, is that really what I think? Like, it doesn't make sense coming out of my mouth. So it must not have made sense in my head.
Hmm.
And so it's really cool when you start to view social media or just a podcast like that, because then it can start to become a way of figuring out yourself. And I think in doing that, you are able to connect with people and really build an audience of people who understand that side of things as well
Hmm.
and potentially align with you on certain values that you have.
I agree. For me, it's been very challenging to build an audience because I'm at a like what I've tried to do these past 3 years or what I've been building is to build a conversation and where like everything you do, some may be very natural doing it. Others it takes time to develop, and then when they get it down pack, they shine. I'm trying to like what I've been trying to do is tell that story in the middle because we all see the aftermath, the when we're great, when we have money, when we made it, or we feel like we made it, that perspective or point of view that everybody sees, but we don't see in the middle in the struggle. And I there's people that I talk to. Maybe if you pay a guest with a high volume of followers to come in, it's like I don't want to because it doesn't
Yeah,
as much as I need it, as much as like I would like to profit, make a real profit as I want it. I got to stick with my like, regular Joes, the
right.
people who are actually doing this, and when they succeed, I succeed
Yep,
because we're like I can't grow without you.
right.
So your first goal, your first like, uh, damn, I made it. I made it because I gave
Yeah,
you the opportunity to just talk. And it's
yeah.
not like, a job interview, right? And where you got like, oh my God, you got to think about how you're going to answer. No, just be
There's all
yourself.
that pressure. Yeah.
Yeah, be yourself.
Hmm.
Talk about what you're doing, but also talk about like things that are going on. People get to know you. Like have people understand that you're a human being and connection is everything. And I think we going back to what you said on like social media, like the algorithm, it's good, but it serves a negative purpose, and we're like you're forcing you to do something that's not you.
Right.
And if you want to be human and do humor, let it be organic. Let it be
Yeah.
just happen. Don't force yourself try to do a skit that it's like you're challenging your own personal values in a sense.
Yes. Oh, yeah, exactly. I 100% agree with that. And I think nowadays, like it's kind of shifted. I feel like more and more people are being rewarded for being themselves, right? Like
Hmm.
those over time, right? Like those are the people that are getting followers. I think you always will still have the people that get followers that are humorous, because I think humor is a thing that connects all of us in some way or
Yeah.
another. But yeah, I think that it is being rewarded now for people who are starting to be more vulnerable. I heard someone say this, like, people will forgive most things except those people who are a liar. And people do not like a liar. And so I feel like people are being rewarded now for being open, being honest, even if the truth is ugly. Like, as long as you're honest about it and you stay true to yourself, I think that that's getting rewarded nowadays, which I am
Yeah.
grateful for, because it does make it easier to create content.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree 100%. But like everything, one thing that I realized, time always repeats itself. So right now we're entering that stage and we're being honest and we're just saying it. Little do you know, times is gonna change and we're like, you gotta learn how to articulate yourself. You gotta learn how to speak about what you want to, say. Because everything is a trend, especially on social media. So you could be open and you feel relief, and it's like, oh, you feel that sense of that pressure that you feel, right? And that's what
Yeah.
holds me back. Like I'm told all the time, I can be very humorous. I can be very funny, right? But I choose not to. Like it's so hard to me to portray what I want to say because everything is a thought process. It's like I don't care what people think of me, but I care what I think about myself. And the image I want to
Exactly.
put out there is somebody that I believe in hard work and determination. I believe I see
Mhm.
myself a higher power, and I got to build myself up there. So when I'm on this front of this camera, I gotta like I want to be like you say. I want to be vulnerable. I want to be real, but I also want to be articulate. Not say just things just to say it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And I think that that is what really creates valuable content worth watching. Is it's
Hmm.
not just like I'm gonna ramble here. I think that sometimes, like, I have seen people when, and I've seen myself sometimes do this too, there's a difference between complaining and being vulnerable, right? There's the
Hmm.
people who will talk about their situations and complain about them. And I think the key difference there is that people who complain on social media about their situations, maybe being vulnerable in a sense, but they always leave it on a negative side, right? It
Hmm.
always ends with, and this sucks, and I feel bad for myself, and you all should pity me, that type of thing. Whereas, like, honesty kind of leans more on the side of, hey, I'm going to tell you how I'm doing, and it's hard, and it may sound like complaining, but the
Hmm.
difference is that it ends on a positive note. Here's how I'm solving it,
Yes.
here's how I'm working on it, move through this. And by them just ending it with that, it now switches into being honest, being real, and being able to relate to them, rather than it feels like somebody who's just complaining. And I see
Hmm.
both on the side of content creators, people who complain and people who are just honest. So I feel like that's been a good shift for me as well, to always remember, show how I'm working through this, because that ends it on a side of hope,
Hmm.
rather than life is terrible, all the negative stuff.
See, I like your content. I was watching your Instagram, and you're very informative, but you're having fun. You're like when you're doing something, when you're recording, like that's you. That's your essence. Like you're very informative in the way you speak. You're figuring it out like everybody else, but you're not like you're figuring it out, but you're not shy about it, or you're not how do you say embarrassed about it. You take pride in it, right? And
Thank you so
then
much.
most welcome. And then when you learn something, you're so freely and innocent and sharing it. It's like that's life. That's what everyone. This is what a healthy human being looks like. Despite everything, right? Because it's like
Yes.
it doesn't matter how hard life hits you or how hard it be. Like you're still a human being. And like it's so organic and it's so you and sometimes you're quirky and sometimes you're just informative and sometimes this, but it's like it's you,
Yep,
you know?
exactly. Exactly. And that's the type of content that I think people really want to see because that's how people are, right?
Hmm.
People are weird, people are quirky, they're strange, people do weird things. And so we all do it. And just showcasing that,
Yeah.
I think makes it relatable.
Yeah. I think in social media there's I don't know the exact terminology or name about it, but there's a certain degree, a certain demographic, not demographic, that's wrong, a certain conversation
Hmm.
that's it continues to flow. And if you're not in that and this is me being an example because I don't really know how to explain it, but
Yeah.
let's just say certain topic of conversation or certain entity, and where in order for you to succeed in social media, you got to be in that bubble, in that
Hmm.
space, and do
Hmm.
that same thing. And no, like no,
Yeah.
like going back to your content, like you're just being you're being informative, like you're having fun, you're living life,
Yeah.
doing what you love, and just figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I think people lost that like now how do you say that authenticity.
Yeah. Yep. That authenticity, that vulnerability, that honesty of just like how they really are.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that 100%.
So like how do you what's the process like, what do you, like how do people get in contact you to like start this journey of podcasting, like how talk to
Yes.
me a little bit about that.
Yes. So the platforms that we are most active on are going to be Instagram or Facebook. And so if you want to reach out via Instagram, you can just go to Alayna and then it's 2_Zenger. And you can reach out. We have an application that you can apply if you're interested in getting your podcast launched. So I can send that over to you. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook at Alayna Zenger as well and shoot me a message there too. And then you can see kind of some of the content that we do and take a look at that. And so yeah, that's probably the best places to connect with us.
Boom. Is there any way like 14 days start a podcast, like what like how do you recommend that? Like how do you like what is that process like? Oh, you need to get this and this, or is there a kit that you sell?
Yeah, so it's a done with you slash done for you offer. And so we work with you every single step of the 14 days. There is like a little course that we'll have that you'll watch videos according to the day, kind of explaining what is getting done. But we will do all of the editing of your episodes. We recommend that people drop their podcast with 5 episodes.
Yes.
It gives those people that want to binge, say, your Aunt Jana, right, who wants to binge your podcast, right? It gives them the opportunity to binge it so that it could potentially boost your podcast in the beginning. So we help people launch with 5 episodes. And so we'll do all of the editing for that. We'll come up with all of the podcast branding for you. So that would be like your logo, your name, your description, what category it fits under. We'll help you with all of that. Something that's really cool in this process is that we do the first 3 episodes filming with you. And so we've come up with this process to be on Zoom essentially with you, and we'll be asking you questions and you'll be answering, and then we'll cut our answers out so then we can film it with you, because a lot of people who have always wanted to start a podcast but don't, their biggest fear sometimes is filming. And they're like, oh, I turn on the camera and I just don't know what to say. And it's like, hey, we'll be there with you and we'll walk you through those first 3 episodes. So that's a really cool process that we do as well. But it's literally just, hey, day 1 do this, day 2 do this, day 3 do this. We'll do this for you, and we just continue from there. And then by day 14, it's launched, and then we kind of move into the post production, which is making it consistent and starting to
Uh,
grow it through repurposing it.
is it going to consist of just audio or video as well?
Both, yeah, because I
Nice.
think right now video trumps most things, even audio. I think it trumps, and so to have it on both platforms, meaning to have it on the podcasting hosting sites but then to also repurpose it to YouTube, it just helps your podcast.
Yeah.
So we might as well just lean into that instead of trying to fight it, because I think it will just help it in the long term.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think no, it's incredible. You're helping with the main part is editing.
Yeah.
It's editing. Like I don't like you can easily take a phone and record, but like that editing process, even through Anchor, which is now purchased by Spotify, you still had to edit that.
Yeah.
And if not, they will edit for you. And if you got, I think, sponsors through Anchor, whatever, they'll charge you for that within the
Yeah.
sponsorship, to my understanding. But
Mhm.
man, that sounds great to me. I wish I had that when I first started.
I'm the same way, and that's why I think it's really helpful because it's like when I first started, oh man, it did take me a while to get it off the ground. And I was really fortunate to have somebody who kind of walked me through it and was like, okay, do this, use this, here's how you create your intro, your outro, all of these things. And so yeah, I think it's just kind of like creating what I wish I would have had, and it sounds
Mhm.
like what you wish you would have had. And I've talked to other people who have a podcast and they're like, yeah, this would have made it really easy. And
Yeah.
that's the whole point, is to take away as much friction as we can to getting a podcast started, because a lot of these people who want to start podcasts have really good stuff to share. Like
Mhm.
we listen to them talk and their topics, and it's such a variety of topics, but it's like, yes, like you need to be sharing this with people because it's really powerful. And so, yeah, it's been very rewarding. And I think it's an awesome process for those new beginners for sure.
I agree. I agree also that you're using Facebook. Like when I first started with this journey, everything was done Instagram. But
Hmm.
Instagram, unfortunately, like if you're not like in that younger demographic, right?
Hmm.
Like I can't remember, I don't know exactly the age group, but like that's Instagram.
Hmm.
That's it. But Instagram doesn't help you build audience like that. It
Hmm.
helps you get short messages out there, but Facebook, it really helps you build an audience. And that's like I've
Hmm.
been sharing my videos now on Facebook for the last month, and uploading, and viewership has gone more than YouTube.
Wow. Okay.
Support, even comments,
Yeah.
even I used to never get comments. Now I get one here or there. People are more like to share your stuff. So it's like it's once you have it packed down, it's easier. I feel like for me, it's been easier, and I've seen more progression or made a difference in viewership on Facebook than anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's cool is we're trying to repurpose it on as many places as possible. So we'll repurpose it as a blog for you, as a YouTube video, as shorts, as posts that you can then use on Facebook. You could share the whole thing straight to Facebook. And so, yeah, just a lot of different ways to repurpose it. So then you have content for days, and then also just have it on a whole bunch of different places for people to consume it in the way that they want to consume it.
Correct, correct. Sounds like a plan. Sounds like you have a great idea that especially for those like usually you're not just offering a 14 day how to do it, but also manage it as well.
Right.
So
Yeah, we
you're sticking
did.
with them.
At first, we tried to just do the launch, and then we'd be like, hey, your podcast is launched.
Bye
And
bye.
then yeah, their podcast died. And we're like, no, like this is going to be so good. And you did all the work, and now you can't stay consistent with it. And so, yeah, it's like, no, if you're going to start a podcast, if you're going to play the game of podcasting, you've got to realize that it is not for the people that want to make money quick or for the people that want to get
Yes.
famous quick. You would probably have a better chance at winning the lottery, honestly, because
Preach.
it is such, and you know this, it
Yeah.
is such a long-term game. It is such a long-term game. I think even much more than the social media platforms, and the
Mm-hmm.
social media platforms are long-term games as well.
Yeah.
But it really is, because there are a lot of people in the podcasting space, but I believe that there is still a space for everybody. You just have to be willing to commit to it. So we stopped just doing the launches for people because we didn't want to play with anybody who was like, we'll just create one and I'll see if I want to continue it. No, like if you want to get our help launching it, we want to invest time in you. We want to make sure that you get out a show that's really good, but also a show that you continue to do.
Mm-hmm. So you're like essentially you're not just helping them start, but you're producing it for them.
Exactly. Yep.
Producing, and that's key word because people don't understand what what this entail producing that. And if you're telling me, like I said before, I wish I had this. I wish I had someone like you when I first started, right? And we're
Yeah.
like, all I have to do is show up, record,
Yeah.
and I'm out, and somebody does the work for an affordable price, or because whether it's pricier or not, the value still matters. Because
Right.
me personally, editing the whole episode, editing the audio version. Because when I have people who reach out and want to do like a sponsored it, right? So I have to re-record certain things, put it in the middle of the audio, on the beginning of the audio, right? Then edit the regular video, then publish it, then do thumbnails,
Oh
then
yeah.
then do social media, edit it for social media, and I think repurpose is the correct terms, right?
Yep.
Do
Uh-huh.
reels,
Yep.
and it sounds like I'm rambling on, but that's everything I
That's what it
do.
takes, right? Yeah.
I'm solo. So I think you have a great concept. You have a great idea, and it's valuable. It's gonna take time because
Oh
everything
yeah.
takes time, but there's people that like just want to try it out,
Yeah.
you know, and there's values in that as well. And
Mhm.
if they come back, they have your services there.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's definitely something that I wish I would have had. And yeah, I'm excited to continue to bring it to people.
I agree 100%. So talking about a little about everything, I've seen you train for these marathons. What's up with that?
So the best way that I like to describe it is just I like to do hard things. I just like
Preach.
to do hard things. There's a lot of value I've found in doing things that really push me past my limits. And I feel like me doing those things throughout my like high school life. I'm in my early 20s still, so I'm not that old, but just doing some
Oh,
things there.
okay.
I feel old, but I'm not that old really in the big scheme of things. Is like there were just things that I did that really pushed me, and I feel like that built a lot of character for me. When in my high school years, when those are pretty years where you're pretty unstable and you're trying to figure yourself out and all that stuff. And so just like remembering that, I'm like, I want to keep that spirit, that thing alive because I'm going to need that character. I'm going to need that growth, that building, that toughness throughout every single phase of life that I'm in. And so for me, kind of what I've shifted to doing is I heard this concept. I actually heard this concept by a guy named Jesse Itzler. And he talked about it. He calls it misogi. And so it's a Japanese term where you do one hard thing that's really memorable a year. And so you can look back on like your years and go, oh yeah, like 2024 was the year that I did this.
Mm.
And 2025 was the year that I did that big thing. And so I've started to set these events up that I do that really push me each year. And so last year I signed up for this event called Running Man, and it was by Jesse Itzler as well. But essentially, you could pick your distance that you wanted to run. So I picked a 10K. I had run a 5K before, but I've never done a 10K. Never considered myself a runner. I was like, that's probably going to be pushing it. So we'll do a 10K. We'll see how that goes. And I trained for it. I trained for it in 5 different states because we move and live in states. And so just trained for it during the summer of 2023 and then finally did the race in October. And what was cool is when you get into those events where you're with people and you guys are doing crazy things, you can really push yourself beyond your limits. And so 10K is 6.2 miles. I ended up running slash walking 20 miles that day that I did it. And I was just like blown away by what I was able to do. I definitely did not like train to run
Yeah.
20 miles, but I got done with my 10K and I was like, yeah, like I just want to keep going. Like I just want to keep pushing myself. I was definitely hurting after that day. My body
Mm.
was not liking me, but that was something that, you just kind of prove to yourself who you are in those moments. And There was a lot of growth. I went solo to that trip. So you're not there with anybody that you're comfortable with. So you're just going, you're trying to meet new people. And so yeah, that was a really good experience. Our Misogi event for 2024 is my boyfriend and I are going to be participating in this bike race called Ragbri. And it's where you ride across the entire state of Iowa. So we're going to be riding our bike 424 miles across the state of Iowa. And I wanted to do it on a tandem bike with my boyfriend. So we're going to be doing it on a tandem bike in July.
That's dope.
Yeah, a
That's
lot of
so
people question my decision because we don't ride bikes very often. And they're like, you're going to do it on a tandem, but it's going to work out. It'll be
and
great.
for those that don't understand what a tandem is a
It's a two-person bike. So
geez.
think it's a longer bike. It's obviously a bigger bike. It's heavier because you have two people on it. So it has two seats, two sets of handlebars, and you pedal together. You have to start the bike together, stop the bike together. And so it requires a lot of communication.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be you're gonna learn a lot about one another.
You want to know something? So I've been a part of the Facebook groups that like do Ragbri and things like that.
Hmm.
Realizing that people are very passionate about tandem biking. If you
Yes.
find a group of tandem bikers that are like really into tandem biking, they are very passionate about it. Not judging it. I'm just saying I was surprised. I did not think that they would be that passionate about it. But
Yes.
people classify the tandem bike as the divorce bike. And so it's like, it's something that's gonna really test your relationship. They also have this saying that the tandem will either, in whatever direction your relationship is headed, the tandem will just get it there faster. And so I kind of like that because I do think that my boyfriend's and I's relationship are headed in a great direction. We're looking to get married next year. And so it's
Nice.
like,
Congrats.
well, I mean, it will just get it there faster. So I'm cool with that.
No, no, I agree 100%. I asked about the running because I'm in this crossroad. I still haven't made up my decision, and where like I wanna take up something that's gonna be excuse me, it's gonna be for the rest of my life.
Hmm.
Like it's not something it's I want it to be my go-to in where this is my safe place.
Yeah.
Well,
Hmm.
this is where I push myself. That the
Mm.
place in where I have my moments of clarity because I need that.
Yeah.
And in a big house that I live in, that's gonna be my quiet. That's gonna be.
Yep.
So like I think it's been 2 years now, but I started off jujitsu, which I highly recommend you to do it. I
Oh,
highly recommend.
nice. Okay.
So I got my blue belt. Uh,
Congrats.
thank you. Days before my blue belt, I did my first tournament, which I tore my ACL per completely.
Oh
It, it
no.
was a it was a it was a horrible experience that um and the easy part was touring the touring the ACL.
That was
That
the easy
that was the
part?
easy part, but like I had a letdown. People that I thought that would have my back win or lose. It really stated what at the end of the day, it's just a business.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like martial law is not like back in the day that, it helps you create some life lessons and values.
Right.
If
Hmm.
you go on that journey by yourself, you're gonna find what you're looking for. But if you're doing it to be a part of a people brotherhood, in my experience, it's nothing like that. It's just another business.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, but I tore my ACL. I chose not to have the operations because just being in the reviews, a lot of people I've met, even though I'm still young, um, I don't know, it's something about 8 months or 9 months of rehab. Having a son who's on a spectrum, who's active,
Yeah.
responsibilities, being an entrepreneur myself, hustling to manage business. I didn't want that. So 2 years prior now, I've built up I built it up and where now what's sustaining my ACL is muscle mass,
Yep. Hmm.
right? Big squat guy. I love squat guy,
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So I'm either that or like I want to start doing these. these running thing, this jogging, these marathons like you do. And
Mhm.
the problem with me is I have a big problems. I do nothing soft. I do everything hard.
You're either in or you're out.
Yeah, I have no middle, middle. Like
Hmm.
a couple of months ago I started running again and doing that and like try to I feel like every time I try to go slow and manage my pace, I started hurting my feet. My feet hurt more or more.
Yeah.
And I know even though my injury, like I could do more, but just like have that pacing balance because that's what they
Hmm.
tell you all the time or what I've been
Hmm.
reading. It's like it's not working for me. So,
Hmm.
speaking with somebody who you're really good at managing things and structurizing and studying. You're the student of the game and anything you do, which I
Hmm.
admire and respect the hell out of you.
Oh,
Like, do
thank
you
you.
have any advice for me for that? Like, because I go hard, I get hurt.
Oh man, I don't know if I'm the right person to be asking this because I kind of lean more on your side as well. Like
Yeah.
I go hard too. Like we're planning our training for this bike right now, and I'm like, oh, like we haven't we haven't ridden like more than 5 miles on a tandem bike. We can do 25 miles right off the bat. And my boyfriend's like,
Mm,
no, probably not. We should probably dial it back a little bit, start a little bit slower. And so I definitely do lean more on that side of it for sure. Um, I think like when you were talking about that, my thought kind of goes to I saw this post from this guy that I follow. His name's Ryan Holiday. He's really good. He writes the books like Ego is the Enemy, Stillness is the Key,
mm.
Obstacle is the Way. Have you heard of any of those books before?
I heard the first one. I
Cool.
heard
Yeah.
of the first
So
one.
he writes a lot of those books and he's very into the stoicism idea of living your life like that. And he actually just posted about this, how sometimes we go so much, we push our bodies so much that if our bodies force us to stop, right?
Mm,
And that could be through an injury, that could be through getting really sick, that could be through the recovery process taking longer, things like that. And I've seen that throughout my life,
yeah.
like doing my ballroom dancing, and I did that for a long time after big
Yes, yes,
competitions.
yes.
Yep. I would get there was this one year where I did this really big competition, and that week after I was just like the sickest I have probably ever been.
Yes.
And I feel like that's like your body kind of telling you like, yo, you did not pay
Yeah.
attention.
See, with me, it becomes like an addiction. I become obsessed. Like
Right.
people don't understand this. Like when you love something, when you find something you like,
Hmm.
you want to succeed at it. Obsession is going to be talent and hard work any day. So I
Hmm.
become obsessed, and we're like, all I'm thinking is like, I gotta do my 5 push-ups, my 10 or 15
Hmm.
push-ups. I gotta do that. I gotta do that. I gotta do that. If I don't do that, my day's not complete.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then, put more. Oh, this is not enough. I gotta do more. I gotta do more. I gotta do more. And like when I crash.
Hmm.
I crash. Even when I started doing jujitsu, like jujitsu for me was like I keep saying there's this thing called the roll when you're rolling with another person, like
Right.
it's chaos. It's
Yeah.
literally chaos. You gotta develop critical thinking. Like you can't overthink. You just gotta
Yeah.
flow with it. And I've never felt so much peace in that
Hmm.
chaos in my
Hmm.
life. So like
Hmm.
I win or lose, I was always trying to go back to that and get that same feeling, right?
Right.
But then like it's a physical. It's physical. It
Yeah.
gets physical. So my
Right.
body's all bruised up. I'm like it's a pain that like I love. I hate feeling like a crap, but I
Yeah.
love it. I don't. It's crazy. Like it's very
I
oxymoronish.
get it. I get it so much though. And you sparked an idea. You said you're obsessed when you get into things, you get obsessed with them. And I relate to that as well. But the idea that you sparked is you can be obsessed about something. And I think that there's elements within that thing that we also need to be obsessed about, but that we often don't think about being obsessed about, right? So
Hmm.
like if you think about getting really obsessed with being a runner, right? So you're trying to run, you're like, I've got to hit my runs every single day. But I think there's also the side of it to the best runners in the world also have to be obsessed with their recovery because they understand that they cannot hit their PRs, they cannot run as far as they want to run if they ignore that. And I can imagine that probably most of them have learned that from their body telling them either through injury or pain or something along those lines. And now they've learned that they don't mess with that shit. They don't go, hey, I'm not going to push past this because I'm not dumb anymore. Like, I understand that my body does have a limit. And because of that, I'm going to become obsessed with my recovery on the other side of it as well, and make sure that that is optimized and not feel guilty when, hey, I've been running consistently for 8 weeks, but I'm going to take this 9th week off because I know my body needs it. I'm not going to feel guilty about that. I'm going to include that in my obsession of running because I cannot run and continue to run if I do not take this break. I think that is maybe more of the perspective that could be helpful to maintain that, because when you get obsessed about the thing, you have to be obsessed about all of the stuff that it comes with.
No, there's so much volume of truth what you're saying, because I want to say last month before I got sick, ever since, pandemic hit, people get sick every night, like out of nowhere. So I started running and I had a good week, consistent. And my goal was I got to do at least 3 miles minimum, no matter what. But then like, as the day progressed and my body tired, because it's like, I do it in the morning, but I still have a full day ahead of me.
Right.
Right. So like my body's already telling me like, listen, if you don't get 3, that's fine. But remember, you got a full day ahead of you. You got a full day ahead of you. As much as you want this is fine. But you have like my subconscious talking to me and telling me this is how much you have to go. Because you still like have a full head of you. Your kids, your wife, your responsibilities. And that's, maturity, or that experience tearing up my ACL. I learned through those things. So what you're saying, it has so much truth.
Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of, I don't really agree with the idea of balance. Because I just, like you said, if you really want to go after things, like, who's to stop you from doing what you really want? Like, if your goal is to really be successful in this field, like, yes, you should become obsessed. You should go all into it. But again, I think it's about making sure that you are obsessed with everything that comes with it, which is, hey, if I'm going to go hard in this area, which is pushing my body, right, I do have to remember that I do have to take care of it and make sure it recovers. Like, it's just like with, if you're taking care of like a physical thing, like, with my bike, for example, like, we cannot just run the bike ragged because then we can no longer ride it. Like, we have to remember that with riding tons and tons of miles on a bike comes extra care in the bike maintenance. And that will be what is required if I want to put more miles on the bike. And I think that is what is required with the body as well.
Boom. Yeah, absolute. And I think that's something is like, either like, I'm a big believer in, when like I can learn through others' mistakes. Right. But then nobody's doing what I'm doing. So like this whole concept of this idea, building this platform, the podcast, there was nobody, there was nobody there to advise me or guide me.
Yeah.
Even editing, everything was literally self-made. I had this idea, and the only thing I knew was like, I wanted to look like this, but I don't have the funds or the means to get it to where I envision it to be. I got to build somewhere. So after procrastination and months of procrastination, years of procrastination, I just did it. And luckily, we have individuals like yourself that are building platforms to help create podcasts or among other things, right? You have that support.
Yeah.
It comes with a price. Hey, exactly, because nothing comes free. But at least at least if you're paying for anything, you're paying for support.
Right. And you're paying to get towards your goals faster.
Yes. Yeah.
And what is that worth to you, right? It always just comes down to, what is that worth to you? Because you can definitely do it by yourself and figure it out yourself. And that's cool too. It's just, will you take the time to?
Yeah. And having a service like yourself helps tremendous.
Mhm.
Tremendous. Like I cannot stress, like right now I have like 5 episodes that I still need to edit and
Yeah.
put out there. And right now I went back to school and to get my associate's degree at least, right?
Mhm.
And schooling, entrepreneurship, family time, it's a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
It's a lot. So I'm right now I'm just, whatever time I'm just putting them out there as fast as I can because
Right.
it becomes overwhelming. So I
Yeah.
cannot stress enough. And where when you have these services and they're basically producing it for you,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
And you really want to
exactly.
do this, go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it 100%.
Mhm.
Before we go, please tell the people where they can find you at.
Yep. So you guys can find me on Instagram, Alayna__Zenger. You can find me on Facebook, same place. I also have a YouTube channel. I post more on the YouTube than I do on Facebook. And so if you want to connect with me on YouTube, it's all just at Alayna Zenger. I have a pretty unique name, so it's pretty easy to find. And that's where you can connect me and see all the updates of the podcasting, but also just all the crazy things that I do. And we're traveling, living in states 1 to 3 months at a time. So we travel a lot as well. And so, yeah, you can keep up to date there.
Boom. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Go support, go check her out, go follow, go check out her content. Please support these amazing entrepreneurs. Make sure you go like and subscribe to DIOTALK TV on YouTube. Go follow me on Instagram, Mr. Dream Inspire Retain. I'm out, guys. Have a good night.